Hey, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I'm Dr. Ariel Hammond, and this is the Enrichment Entrepreneur, a podcast for current and aspiring entrepreneurs who are in the business of helping kids thrive. We're talking after school programs, summer camps, tutoring, enrichment, the people and places that show up for kids outside the classroom. I'm still building right alongside you, and that's exactly why we're here, to learn, grow, and figure this out together.
Let's go!
Hello and welcome to the Enrichment Entrepreneur. I'm so happy to have our guest of the day, Amir, with us. Before we start with Amir's story, I'm going to start with one question. So, Amir, you had a chess business and it was working really well, yet you chose to walk away from it. Why?
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be on the podcast. For a while, we were teaching chess in schools, running a chess tutoring business, and got really excited by the opportunity not just to have kids learn to play chess, but to build infrastructure for them to be able to compete and to have a larger social gaming and competitive platform. So at our core, we're a technology business. We saw a larger opportunity and a more scalable opportunity in connecting thousands of schools to compete. That's eventually why we pivoted.
Yeah. And see, that's exactly why I wanted Amir on the show. He built something that was highly successful. He started with youth enrichment in-person service businesses. And as I've spoken to many operators and entrepreneurs in this space, the question comes up of how do we scale, or we come up to a ceiling of complexity and it starts to feel like more work. To go into a new area will be doubling the workload. Many don't want to do that. So there are different opportunities to use and leverage the business that you've built, the expertise that you have, and to higher leverage opportunities such as Amir's tech startup. He hit that ceiling, he wondered, push through or pivot, and he made the strategic decision to pivot. So you're going to hear what that decision actually looks like from the inside, and you're going to walk away with a very different way of thinking about how deep you can go with your school partners. So to begin, Amir, can you tell everyone who you are and what you've built?
Yeah, so I've always loved chess. Started playing lower school, did it every single weekend. If I ever misbehaved, the first thing mom took away were the chess tournaments. So long love for me. Grew up in New York City on the Upper West Side, loved the Upper West Side. And despite the fact that I played so much chess in an individual capacity, I never really had the opportunity to play through my school team, in large part because the infrastructure for academic competition didn't really exist. That if I wanted to go and play against another school, it required travel, finding a bus or a van or the subway, getting a chaperone, coordinating schedules with other schools. So I never really had the opportunity to be a part of a chess team because all of that was prohibitively difficult. And that's the context in which we started Rookly. Rookly in its current form is a scholastic chess league where we make it really easy for school chess clubs to compete against one another. You don't have to travel, find physical space. We take care of all of it. Schools meet once a week for an hour after school. They play through their after school programs. And we work with currently over 250 schools across the country, 4,000 active kids competing through the site. Over time, the goal is not just to be a competitive platform, but to also enable students to learn how to play, to be able to play with their friends, to take that experience outside of school so they can have perhaps a healthier alternative to Roblox and Fortnite and other kind of traditional gaming platforms.
Yes. And I was so impressed when I learned of Amir's story and what he's doing with Rookly to see students in a classroom. He showed me a picture of all the kids in the club super into their Chromebooks, their laptops, and they, instead of it being the race car typical e-gaming, they were all playing live chess and cheering each other on. So imagine that, like, competitive spirit enabled by technology, but to learn chess is really a beautiful modern iteration of it. So you grew up playing chess. You just talked about that. What did chess do for you as a kid?
Yeah, chess was really an outlet for me. It was a space where if I ever lacked kind of academic confidence in the math classroom or in science, being able to find confidence and just like an outlet. And I think that's the value of extracurriculars in general
Hmm.
is they are a place where you can flourish that isn't always traditionally is not always a traditional marker in schools. So like if you're great at math, if you're a great student, that comes out every single day in school, but the extracurriculars offer a moment where even if it doesn't, you're able to feel like you're trying through it. On a more personal level, it's just something I did with my dad. We went to all the tournaments together. A lot of our bond was through the game and through playing with one another and through him kind of coaching me. So it was also just a moment for us to kind of share.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You won nationals in middle school, and now you're bringing that competitive league nationally to a bunch of schools, hundreds, and eventually very soon it'll be thousands. When you won nationals, how did that change you?
Well, I think as a middle schooler, if you're gonna win nationals, you hope it's something other than chess, but
But it was.
take what you can get.
Yeah.
It would have been cool if I was, I don't know, national champion, maybe anything else. It was just this moment of self-esteem and confidence, and
Mhm.
it did sort of change my love of the game in a negative way, which was interesting because I think there's a difference between doing something out of passion and out of
Mhm.
love and in a silo where there isn't a lot of pressure. And once I won nationals, I started to have a lot of internal pressure that made the game a little less fun. It felt that you were always sort of pursuing another goal as opposed to kind of this authentic, I like this thing, so I do it because I like it.
You mentioned passion a little bit briefly. So, why did you start your business originally? What problem were you trying to solve?
Yeah, the initial business actually had nothing to do with competitive play. I was
Mhm.
a senior in college. I went to Cornell and I was teaching chess online. It was COVID. It was really difficult because my kids were just like on Zoom. They didn't have
Mhm.
an opportunity to play against one another. They couldn't move pieces. They couldn't collaborate on puzzles. I was just like sharing my screen and talking to them. They might as well have been on YouTube. That was the initial kernel of an idea. So we built a platform for online chess lessons, focusing actually at the start with adults because we figured a lot of adults want to get better and they were easier to market towards. Very quickly actually transitioned into after school. We were selling mainly online lessons, though some physical in-person chess classes as well. And we were just like an after school chess provider. In New York, where we were, we could do some of the lessons in person, but for the most part, online once a week for an hour. And the challenge we really ran into was you don't solve a staffing issue with school because they still need to find somebody to be in the room with students. And then also, like, it so much of after school is about the students collaborating with one another, and you don't fully get that in an online lesson the way that you do in an in-person lesson, or also just like in our league where the whole thing is the kids are actually playing against other schools and you're on a team and by nature it's collaborative. So those were some of the reasons why we shied away from it. But it really did start off as this like just a normal after school chess program.
Cool. So you went from in-person slash online live lessons to building an entire platform. And what made you make that switch? Do you have like a moment where you had that realization?
Yeah, absolutely. And basically every lesson, the students just want to play against their classmates. They were less interested in what the teacher wanted to present, the material the teacher had covered, and much more just like, I told you at recess I'm better than you at chess. Maybe
Okay, right.
after school. And like they just got really into that part of it. And then I remembered all the challenges that I had personally around logistics and trying to form my own team. So yeah, we started off with a league. It was something that was a kernel of an idea. We weren't sure if it was going to work. Then in September of 2024, at the end of it is when we launched the league. We just noticed sort of week over week more engagement, more excitement. It became a space where students were celebrated. So there's sort of this issue around academics and academic competition in general, where if you're good at something academically, it's reflected in your grades, but that isn't socialized. I mean, it hopefully shouldn't be socialized. Whereas with athletics, if you're a great soccer player, everyone can look at the field and see who's scoring. So this kind of became an opportunity for kids who perhaps are not on an athletic team to really shine and to be part of a community, to excel and get recognized. So it's like very important for us to shout out students when they have great games and to really make them feel like their contributions are recognized.
I feel that. I was not an athlete growing up. The only medal I ever got was an academic medal. And so if they didn't give me that academic medal, I would have gone my entire K-12 without one. So, yes, as one of those kids, I appreciate that effort.
Awesome.
Now you're in 250 schools plus over across 38 states. How did that happen in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of it was just reaching out, cold outreach. Hey, we have this chess program. What's a way for schools to compete against? And you list whatever schools were sort of currently competing in the moment. And the response rate was kind of higher was because you were solving this issue of like, I know I have a kid who's interested in chess. They play at recess with their friends. They're on chess.com. There isn't a space for them on campus. How can I create a space for them? So then that started to resonate. And then as schools liked the product and enjoyed competing, there became strong references and you get a little bit of a flywheel from there. There still is always the challenge of like, we're not physically on campus to figure out how to implement the program. In an ideal world, we could also figure out that component, but it'll never work out that way.
For those of us listening who do not have a technical background, most of us are domain experts, maybe a musician that grew up playing a particular instrument all throughout their lives, and now they teach that to other people and children as well. Maybe a former athlete that now has a business teaching that to people in their community and kids in their local community. They may want to scale their business or explore what that could even look like, leveraging technology. And so, for those who do not have technical backgrounds, what advice would you give them as they begin to think of how there may be opportunities for scale for their business leveraging tech?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of hopefully the barriers to technology have become less with tools like Cloud Code and Cursor. It's hopefully a little easier to just get something started. I think the question is always like, who's your customer? How do they find you? There's also just like power in asking for references that's separate from technology. A lot can be done without technology. It's important to ask, like, why do you want tech? Is it like you're having trouble finding leads? That's a great place for technology because tools like Apollo have all of the after school coordinators in your area and you can send them an email and an automated email. Maybe that's one place where technology can be helpful. Is it in keeping track of families? So there are email marketing tools where you can send newsletters to your customers and keep them excited and engaged and sort of amplify the personal relationship that you have. So I think it always boils down to the question of what would be the problem that I would want to fix. And then it's kind of amazing both what tools exist and then how AI and that can also be a gap filler.
Yeah. So, to become more comfortable or even start thinking about how you can leverage technology or be more part of that realm, start thinking of how we can leverage technology in the areas that we're under leveraged right now. If
Yeah.
it's examples you gave, customer relationship management, CRM platforms, or if we're having difficulty finding partners, leads, customers, using Apollo for that as well. So that makes sense. What is the hardest part of running this business, Rookly, that people don't see?
Yeah, I think there are two things that are generally hard. It's product and sales. On sales, one way of thinking this about our business is we have 250 schools. You would expect to have, in some sense, more because if a school is competing in chess, I would have expected at least that they would have folded in their athletic conference, that the schools in which they do basketball and track and field and soccer with would sort of join alongside them. And I think the tricky thing is that's not exactly how schools work. That even if you have a strong reference, and even if a school is a happy partner, it doesn't always translate into getting their peer schools. What does translate into signing up peer schools is relentlessly following up and building a relationship. And that's kind of separate from what you would hope to see, where just like references can really kind of grow exponentially. So I think for us, it's been trying to hire great people to sell and to build relationships. It's just right now currently me and my friend Matthias who do most of the sales, but hopefully trying to grow that organization. That's a big challenge because it doesn't grow absent a lot of effort and a lot of constant outreach and constantly telling our story. So I think that is surprisingly challenging. And on the product side of things, right now what exists is that the kids can just compete from school against other schools. Our hope is to really build this experience where anyone can form a chess club. All that is required is Rookly. So that means kind of enriching our product, so you can learn how the pieces move if you've never played before. That it's not just you're learning in isolation, but that it's collaborative. So the game actually has to be compelling as well as educational. And there are a set of priorities in how do you kind of decide what the right product is that isn't intuitive. For example, if you build an experience that's mobile first versus like on the computer, there are probably ways in which the attention of that game is different. If you're a mobile thing like Duolingo, maybe you want to just like do a bite-sized lesson. And if it's on the computer, maybe it has to be more of an immersive game for it to be a competitive experience. So like a lot of the sort of sub product questions are really tricky. And again, it gets rooted into like knowing who's your student, what motivates that student, why are they doing this as opposed to the million other things that they could do. And I think that that is broadly applicable, whether you're running a chess technology company or when I was doing in person chess lessons or I was a big basketball player growing up. It does always get down to like the core motivations of the people in the room,
And that's consistent no matter what type of
no matter
business you
what you
have.
do.
Yeah, being close to your end user, being close to the customer experience. As you scale, what opportunities do you see for enrichment providers who teach chess and maybe they teach their programs in schools and different community centers? How might they leverage Rookly to improve the services that they offer?
Yeah, absolutely. We love working with chess coaches, Steam providers. They're wonderful partners. And the nice thing with Rookly is all that is needed is a device. Most schools are now one to one. And I think the reason why chess coaches like Rookly, why Steam partners like Rookly, is competition gets you excited. And excitement is the basis of all kind of learning. So oftentimes the story that we hear is, hey, I had 20 kids in my chess program. Then we started playing on Rookly. Half the class would learn, the other half would compete simultaneously. And because competition got students excited, they would bring in their friends. And my program went from 20 students to 40 students because the excitement was contagious. And at lunch, everyone was talking about how well they did in their chess matches. And that created a FOMO, and more students would join chess as a result of that. So I think there is this interesting thing around competition where it creates a very positive feedback loop where the more you're competing, the more you want to learn, the more you want to learn, the more lessons you take, the more lessons you take, the more engaged that chess coach becomes, a team partner, and that creates a really nice cycle.
What's one thing that enrichment operators get wrong that you figured out the hard way?
It's hopefully a work in progress to see if we're figuring things out the right way. But I
Mm.
think the thing that has been really helpful for us is a lot of just engagement with people who use Rookly. So if a student makes a brilliant move in one of our league matches, we'll try our very best to write a newsletter to families to celebrate that student so that they have an opportunity to say to go home and say, Mom, Dad, look at how well I did. I think there's a ton of value in the compliment and making someone, especially a child, feel like that activity is where they belong. We take this really seriously. Lucas is like our head of community, and he spends 20 hours a week doing this. And I think that's a place where perhaps tools like AI can be really helpful because it's hard to write a bunch of these newsletters. For us, we don't use it. Lucas kind of does it on hand, but that's in part because we have to like go through the games and find the moments. But yeah, if you have a good note taker and you're able to watch the soccer game and find a moment where there was a nice pass and make sure that that's a celebrated moment, that really keeps kind of students engaged, families engaged. And what's important, I think, in after school is also strong retention because like as myself as an example, I love chess. I did chess every cycle I could from kindergarten to 6th or 7th grade. So I was a 7-year enrollee.
How do you now balance chess in your life? It has been a part of your formative years, a favorite pastime, then it developed into how you earned a living and your career and your biggest aspirations there. And So I'm wondering now, do you still play in your spare time? And if so, how do you maintain love of the game when now it's tied to business and your professional goals?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I think unfortunately, maybe the answer is a little disappointing in that I don't enjoy playing as much.
No,
Um,
I mean, no.
sorry. It just feels like work, which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah.
I would love to play more, but every time I look at a chessboard, it reminds me of the 50, 60 hours that I'm looking at it anyway, not to mention the other stuff that's
Mhm.
associated with running a business. So I think that has been an unfortunate side effect. That said, what chess has now become for me is not so much as playing, but as a way of just meeting people. So I feel like I've met a lot of interesting people who like chess and they want to talk over a chess game.
Mhm.
So while the interest in playing the game might not be there, it becomes like a vehicle to just meet new people and to form a social bond, even if the moves themselves might not be the most interesting.
That makes sense. How has community supported you in your professional journey from your beginning through now where you are with Rookly?
There's sort of two sets of communities. One is I have other friends who are working on businesses, some of them in education, some of them in other fields. It's nice because then you have a set of people who are always in some stage of the cycle as you. And I think that matters a lot to build just like a network of people where it's very collaborative. And if you have a challenge that might not be domain specific to them, but is the challenges are all often the same, right? It's like finding customers, it's delivering a product or an experience or a service that they like, keeping them excited and engaged. It's just nice to have people to work with. That's been a really important community. Then there's the actual community that we're trying to build within the company, where we have a team of 8 people now. One of the things we want to be a place where really smart and interesting people want to work on chess and after school chess. There's also that component of it too, of just like within the company and internally.
Your team individually shows alignment with your mission and your passion for chess. Organically, those who have that same passion are drawn to your organization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
And
hope
that's
of.
probably good advice for others as well. If you have a specific type of business and you strongly believe in bringing that to your community, having others who also are part of that community and have experienced the transformative power of it, whether it's art, music, STEM, robotics, basketball, whatever it is, those people who have firsthand experience with how wonderful it can be, because that's a deeper alignment with the mission of the organization.
Yeah, exactly. Every single person actually plays chess in the company.
Oh, fun.
So even
Is that
even
do you hire for that? Is that an interview question?
it's not, we don't explicitly hire for it, but it matters a little to us because yeah, like it's more exciting if you're building a chess product and you care about chess and you're looking at the board and it's mildly interesting. So there are spectrums of this. I actually think I've probably become maybe the least interested in chess, despite the long, long, many decades of being quite obsessed. But most people in the company, they either watch YouTube videos or they play on chess playing sites. And I think it makes a difference because starting a business and working on a business is hard. You're dealing with people and people problems and you're working quite hard. So I think if there's an intrinsic kind of love of what you're doing, that makes it easier.
Yeah, agreed. All right. So, Amir, one more question. If people want to learn more about Rookly, maybe they want to follow your journey or to connect with you, what should they do? How do they find you? How do they reach out?
Yeah, absolutely. So please check our website, rookly.com. That has some great information if you're always interested in learning more. I am always available via email. I like responding to emails and text and LinkedIn's Amir at rookly.com. Always available, always glued to my phone for better or for worse.
Yeah, that'll be included in the show notes as well. And last question. What is your big goal for Rookley? So we'll follow your journey in 5 years. What will we read about Rookley?
Yeah, I think the ambition is a child goes home and instead of going on Fortnite or Roblox, they go on Rookly, which is hopefully a more palatable, healthier, academic-based social game. The real hope of the company is that whether it's in math or in chess or in science, you can create interest on a school level, build a sense of community with those students, and then that ports over to just beyond the classroom. And it's something that kids authentically want to play with one another.
Is this going to be global? Are they doing this all
Hopefully, or global, local, hopefully we'll see.
everywhere? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, that is wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Amir, for stopping by and taking time to share your story. I hope that those listening were able to gather ideas, practical tips, things that we can do to implement technology in our practice, or even to plant that seed for what a next step may look like for us in the future as we think of how to scale. It may be to pivot in a different way. So to remain open to all of the possibilities that exist for us. Exactly as Amir said, it's 2026 and there's so much technology for those of us who may not be tech experts, but we're domain experts. We can learn and leverage technology to make our operations more efficient or to add even more integrations into what we're doing. So to share it with as many children throughout our local and national and hey, maybe even global community as possible. So thank you all for tuning in and we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. Know someone who needs to hear this episode? Share it because
Sharing is caring.
if this episode earned it, give us all the stars in a review on whatever platform you're listening on because it helps other enrichment entrepreneurs find this show. Got a question or a story worth telling? Head to enrichmententrepreneur.com. You can submit your questions, apply to be a guest, and access resources to help you launch and grow your business. Again, that's enrichmententrepreneur.com.
Until next time, keep learning, keep building.